At this time, we do what's called a community moment. It's where someone in our community gets up and shares a thought about something they've watched or read, or maybe they just want to share a bit of knowledge. And this week, TC is doing our community moment. She's usually she does music and gets us set up with the sound equipment, but she's a veteran to the community moment, so I'll let her get started.
All right. Thank you. All right. Welcome. Okay. Let me see here. Oh, I'm missing a whole page of this. That's all right. I'm supposed to understand this stuff already before I come up here and talk about it. What I'm going to talk to you about today is about the music, but not music as the art, but music as a business. As a professional musician, people come up to me all the time, and they usually have the same question when they find out that all I've done the last, 15 years is be a musician. They go, "What else do you do? What else do you do for what do you do for a living?" As if music could not possibly be able to support me and what I need to do. And so I told them, no, this is what I've done the last 15 years or so, is just play music. That's my sole source of income. And then they back up a little bit from the presumption, and then they'll ask me, well, what do you get paid for downloads? They have questions having to do with the mechanics of the industry itself. They don't ask me, how do you write a song, or how do you take care of your voice? They want to know the same things they know about their own jobs, which is, in their minds, their income is expressed in terms of dollars per hour, dollars per week, dollars per year. That's how people think of what they do for a living. In the musician's mind, we think of our income in terms of fractions of a penny at a time, because that's how we earn it. That's on account of the revolution of streaming music, which when we publish something and we put it up on the internet in ones and zeros, which is digital format, the royalties come back to us. That income comes to us in the form of a royalty. There are 3 kinds of royalties that musicians can earn for the music that they create. The most sort of widely known royalty is the mechanical royalty, which is what we receive for putting out a physical CD. If I were to say, write a song, and Reba McEntire picked it up and said, hey, I'd like to put that on my album, and she goes and she sells 1 million copies of her album, you would think, hey, that's a big payday for TC, right? If she could sell 1 million songs through Reba McEntire. But the truth is, the way that it works is that the Library of Congress and the Recording Industry Association of America come together to negotiate what the royalty rate is. We don't have any say in that as musicians. It's decided for us by the big 5 labels who have formed a trade association called the RIAA, and the Library of Congress, who is very ill-equipped to negotiate with them on our behalf. So what they've come up with is that the physical royalty for a song on a physical CD is about 9 cents. So if Reba sells 1 million copies, that would entitle me to $90,000, right? But hold on. I have to split that 50-50 with my publisher, right? Because they found that opportunity for me, and that's the price of opportunity, is 50%. And then the tax man will automatically take 39.5% of what's left over, because royalties are not treated the same way as capital gains or other kinds of regular earned income. They are taxed at the highest rate, no matter what. So now, I was at 90, I was at 45, and then you take another 40% off of that. So we're down around 30 now for a million seller. It probably cost me 10 grand to record the album that I used to demo that song with, so we're down to 20. And then I had to live all year, right? We're down at least another 20, right? So I haven't even broken even on a million seller. That's how the royalties work for mechanical royalties. When you get into digital music, it's a little bit different there too, because people don't pay for whole albums usually. They're buying single song downloads of an MP3, or they're streaming music that they can't save and then pass on to somebody else. They pay a different rate for that. Streaming music is usually free. to the user. Downloads that you get from iTunes, you pay $1 for them or $1.29 or whatever you get. Generally speaking, our download rate, the musician who writes the song keeps the what you call the profits from that, usually amounts to anywhere between 50 to 80 cents per song, which is pretty darn good. It beats 9 cents, doesn't it? Yeah. But the streaming music, the RIAA and the Library of Congress together have decided that the value of a stream of music shall be 1/15 of a cent. And that's down from 9 cents, which we used to get for streams. Now we get 1/15 of a cent. So when people ask you, how do you make a living doing this music? Not digitally. I can tell you that. Usually most of my money as a musician comes from live performances because I'm fortunate as a songwriter that I can sing. But not all songwriters sing. Many of them are stuck with simply their publishing income, which they have to split with their publisher anyway, and they don't get the T-shirts, and they don't get the tickets, and they don't get, the merch at the concert or any other form of income. They have to live on that 1/15 of a cent. Now, I'm going to go ahead and pass these out, half to each side of the room. I got about 50 of these, which is probably enough for in here. I don't have a projector today, so I just decided to print these out. Hang on. Pass them around. Share some with the middle. Okay. So anyway, this is a little peek into my royalty statement that I get for downloads from cdbaby.com, who is my authorized negotiator for online stuff. And it shows you all the different places where we have our stuff available, and it shows you how much each of those venues pays us for what we do. And they all have different rates. As you can see, some pay, more, some pay less. I've got them ranked in that way. And what I hope to do with this talk is maybe influence how you acquire music for yourselves and where you get it from. Because frankly, if the music is free anyway, regardless of whether you pay for music or not, makes no difference to me. What makes a difference is if you're going to use a free service like Spotify, you can see they only pay the artist or the writer, the creator, 0.00003 cents for a stream. The same service, which is also free to the user, called Slacker Radio, pays me a nickel. So when you go to get your free streaming music online, if it's no different to you, why not use Slacker Radio, right? You're doing me a favor and every other creator out there. Some of these places choose to share their advertising revenue with the creators, and some of them don't. And that's just the reality of it. Now, you could say, oh, gee, if you're unhappy with your royalty situation, why don't you just go to YouTube and monetize your videos on YouTube? That guy Psy made a lot of money with Gangnam Style, right? Remember that song? Gangnam Style, Gangnam Style. Really catchy tune. He racked up 2.3 billion views on YouTube with Gangnam Style, and you're thinking, man, this guy's got to be rolling in it, right? Well, he got paid $4 million for all 3.2 billion of those views, and after the tax man, YouTube, their advertisers, and his distributor was done with him, he kept about $2 million, which is about 1/10 of a cent per view. That's what he made on that video. And, it's a catchy tune. He found another way to get rich, though. He earned another $43 million selling access to his fan base. And folks, this is the new music industry model, and there's no place in it for small local artists like myself or like Robert or like anybody else I bring in here, because we don't have millions of followers. But I'm not jealous of Psy's success. All I need to make the living I want to make is to sell about $600 a week worth of shows, CDs, and downloads. That's pretty much my nut. That's where the rubber meets the road. If I can't make $600 a week, I can't pay half the bills at home like I always did, right? It's really a pretty modest goal when you think about it in terms of income. But it's harder to do than you think. I'm not asking you to suddenly start buying music if you don't already. I'm asking you to get that same music from outlets that share their advertising revenue, like I said before. If you buy a single song download and you happen to buy MP3s, get it from Verizon or even iTunes. As you can see, they compensate us. But try not to go through Napster, who is still alive and well. In general, when you buy your music, your retailer has to observe certain privacy rules when it comes to your transaction. But if you get your music for free, that vendor has no such obligation to you. And when you let him in like that, when you download for free, you've just legally agreed to let this organization into your hard drive, and they can take a lot more than just your email when they leave. And you'll find that out. You're going to have all kinds of things running in the background that you have no knowledge of. So free, yeah, it's free. But you've paid for it, believe me. You've paid for it with your time and with the vulnerability to your computer. And lastly, try not to patronize music that's been on the radio too long. Number one hits often stay on the radio for 16 weeks, and you go, man, why am I still hearing this song? Isn't there any new music out there? Well, there would be new music if the radio stations would allow more than 17 songs a week into the Billboard Hot 100. They let 17 songs in every week. They let 17 songs out every week of the Hot 100. They make that decision on noon Tuesday every week. They do. And if a particular song or a particular artist project has not yet turned a profit as a whole, they artificially keep that song in the top 10 until they can squeeze the last little pennies out of it, until it makes its return on investment. What you call in as a listener and request has no bearing on what they play. None. And if you have to call a 1-800 number to make that request, that's a big old red flag, all right? That DJ that you're hearing does not live in the town where you live. He's probably in New York, talking to you over a wireless connection. He's talking to a lot of towns, not just yours. The only thing local about radio is the traffic and the weather, frankly. But when you call up and you ask them to play music, ask them to play somebody local. And if they can't do that, tell them that you're not going to be their commodity anymore that they sell to their advertisers. They're selling access to you, to their advertisers. People think, oh, radio serves me. No, it doesn't. Radio serves their advertisers. That's the business they're in. And the record labels and the big five, they have to make money on the stuff that they put out because it's harder and harder to make money on music because of piracy. Because people are having to pay more for a physical CD and less for a digital download, the revenue has to come from somewhere. So it has to come from advertising in order for them to break even on their investment too. They're not just making money off CD sales, they're making money off of what you call co-promotion. So, I'm just asking you to think about your value to them and leverage that value to the advantage of the people who create the music that you enjoy. And I hope you take that information with you. Thank you. Oh, do we have enough time for that? I would love a brain picking session. There are so many things I wanted to say, guys. You have no idea, but I stuck with the royalty part, The first was over there. I'm going to come over here next. Pandora Internet Radio is not on here. They don't pay. Oh, wow. No, they don't pay. Pandora does not pay a royalty. I've never seen it come through on my statement before, but I know I'm on there because my son can see it. Patrick.
I know that since the digital age, a lot of artists have decided to start their own labels and everything.
Right.
Have you ever considered starting a local trade association for local artists so that you don't have to go through the big five, as you say?
Well, I have retained my own publishing, so I don't have to split it with anybody. I get the whole pie. I don't just have to split it, but I was talking about the typical artist in that part. I choose to do all of my own writing, recording, graphic arts, duplication, distribution, promotion, booking, travel. I do it all because that way I can keep track of where every penny lands. There are associations like what you describe. I think there's one in Austin, but they do charge a fee. And if you're already on the bleeding edge of hand to mouth, you can't even afford to do that. It's really better to learn all those roles and do them so that you don't have to pay anybody else to do them. And I've learned, as a result, how to run sound. I've learned how to record in a studio. I've learned how to run out and perform. I've learned how to write. I've learned how to do all those things, and it's a good thing. When I get to where I'm making maybe $200K a year, at that point, I would hire staff. But not before then. Noe had a question.
60 years ago, it was easy for the average person to make a living as a photographer.
Right.
As technology got picture taking easier and easier, that job sort of started disappearing. I kind of see that happening in both music and in the movie industry. It's real easy to record a song in your own house now.
Absolutely. You can make a studio quality recording in your bedroom.
Don't you think you can, that's just going to eliminate the need for recording studio and all the stuff?
No, because there's one thing that even if you buy all the gear in the world and you buy the very best microphones that there are and the very best rack gear that there is, what's missing is the producer. The producer is the role of the producer. A lot of people don't understand, because what the producer does is anything the artist cannot or will not do for themselves. If you don't have a right stall of talent to come in and play on your record with you, the other musicians, the producer's job is to find them. The producer's job is to make sure that the vision for your project comes true and is obvious in the final product. It's his job to maybe help you find a manager. It's his job to maybe help you find a publisher. It's all those things that I don't want to do that I would have a producer do for me. And for that, they make about $40 an hour. So I've got a great producer here in town. I've had Jack Saunders produce 8 albums for me. He understands what I can do. He understands where I want to go, the vision of my project, who my audience is, the right kinds of musicians and instruments that are going to reach that audience, the arrangement of the material. There's so much that he does that I don't want to do. And then, the publisher's job is to exploit your music for financial gain. That's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to find out whether your song is appropriate for radio, whether it'd be better in a movie, whether it'd be better in a commercial, whether it'd be better for a children's movie, whatever. That's his job, and he gets a cut. He gets half for doing that. Fred?
Well, this is mostly about recorded music and how it's distributed. But if you want to support artists who play at Oasis and support them in the most direct possible way, find out where they're playing and go listen to them and drop money in the jar. Or come to one of our house concerts. We get 50 people. We charge $20 at the door. We give you a meal. The performer walks away with $1,000.
Oh, and that is so rare and wonderful.
And we get all of them to play at Oasis the day after.
Yes, we do. That's right. It's included in the deal, right? So I think that's probably more time than I should take, given that we have a main speaker. You sure? Well, one thing I wanted to tell you, because Fred stood up, there's a couple of organizations that are called Performing Rights Organizations, the PROs. And there's 2 of them that are big in the United States. One of them is called BMI, and the other one is called ASCAP. These organizations are supposed to be working on the musicians' behalf to collect performance royalties for the use of our music on the radio and in live performance venues. That's who collects terrestrial royalties for us, right? I'm a member of BMI, and I've been on the radio for 15 years, but I've never received a penny from them. But they've shut down 4 venues where I used to play because those venues wouldn't pay their dues. They usually want about $3,000 a year out of a club so that they have permission to use all the BMI catalog they want to, or all the ASCAP. ASCAP wants $3,000 too. CSAC wants $3,000 too, and they hit every club. And the minute you advertise a gig at the Cottonwood and you're a BMI artist, BMI is going to come to the Cottonwood and make sure they've got a license. And if they don't, they'll shake them down and sue them. Well, I think that's double dipping. I think it's illegal because the venue's already paying me directly. I don't need a third party to come in and collect my royalty again, right? The venue already. I want BMI to go after the venues that are using my music but don't hire me. That would be what BMI and ASCAP are for, but they don't do that. They're coming after farmers markets and house concerts now. They're so desperate for revenue because of the digital, the lack of revenue on the digital side of the music business. They're now coming after actual venues that are tiny, and Fred doesn't need to pay $3,000 to do a house concert. That's ridiculous, you know. Okay, one more in the back? No? Okay. Yeah, Bradley.
Talk a little bit about the Musicians Union and what's the future of the Musicians Union?
Unions in Texas are not very strong, but there is one for musicians. It's part of the AFL-CIO, actually. It's the American Federation of Musicians. You can join it. Your dues are something like $50 a month. And in the benefits you get from joining the union would be that you could purchase health care coverage through them. You could purchase insurance for your instruments. They could represent you legally if a venue and you have a dispute of some kind. That would be their job then to represent you. However, most of the members of the union are jazz people or symphony orchestra people. Because they won't put you to work and they won't let you work anywhere except in a venue that hires union musicians. If you're an acoustic musician like me, none of my venues are union venues, right? That's just not how it works. I would never run anybody down for seeking union protection or benefits for however they want to run their business, but in my case, it's just not advantageous for me right now. But if they started working more with acoustic venues, maybe I'd look at them again. But yeah, they were responsible for passing the new law that makes it legal now for a musician to carry their guitar on board an aircraft and not have to check it and get it ruined as baggage, which is thank you, union, for that, right? Because they really spearheaded that. We've been fighting for it for 15 years. We finally got it. Now I can carry my guitar on Southwest, and the bins are 6 feet wide. If it fits, it ships, baby. It's going to go right up there. And I do that in lieu of carry-on baggage, so I'm not actually double-dipping the baggage allowance, right? So it's nice. Any other questions about the business, the art, anything else?
Where are you performing next?
Where am I performing next? I'm doing some gigs this month at I believe I'll be here in mid-April. I've got Gary coming in about another 3 weeks. I'll be doing a birthday party at the J.P. Hopp's house on the 16th, and I'll be playing at the East Side Farmers Market at 3000 Richmond Avenue from 8 a.m. until noon at a farmers market playing for tips. And that's one of my favorite gigs that I do. And you can find me at smytheandtaylor.com. I've got videos and music and all manner of things up there. You can even, if you want to hire Smythe and Taylor, or any musician, frankly, you can go and make your own quote on the website, and you'll know before you even ask more or less what it's about. So I guess that's it, right? No more hands? Okay, thanks.